All right, let's talk multi-genre, our next third of four major assignments here. The multi-genre persuasion project. The first draft is due Sunday, November the 15th by midnight. What I'll do with this video is kind of like what I did for the other ones. I'll just kind of read through the assignment description in your syllabus, and then I'll just kind of pause and elaborate on certain areas as I go. So this starts on page 9 of your syllabus. So let me go ahead and read this. The goal for this assignment is to recast material from your research paper into the form of a persuasive piece of collected writings directed toward an audience different from that of your research paper. So again, the topic is going to be the same as your research paper, but instead of writing 6 to 8 page essay format, you're going to write using several different types of writing, several different genres, which I'll get into momentarily, to try to persuade a specific or different audience. So for your research paper, you were just kind of writing for the general audience of, I think I said the average college student, your peers for the most part. For this one, you're going to choose a specific different audience that you're trying to persuade to do something. It can be a generation that you can choose to write toward baby boomers, or you can write toward, generation Y or X or whatever. It doesn't have to be a generation that you're writing to as well. Um, Basically, your topic and what you're trying to persuade your audience to do will kind of dictate who your audience is. So, for example, if you're trying to get a law or something changed, you might write to specifically to politicians or to lawmakers. If you're writing about, trying to be more understanding of the current generation, you might write toward, the parents of the generation, either the boomers or Gen X or whatever that may be. So whatever you choose for your audience is fine with me, but just make sure you are tailoring your writings to fit toward that audience. Like for example, if your audience was children, you wouldn't write a bunch of genres that are confusing and above their heads. Maybe write, like I've had students do, like like a mini children's book, or like a coloring book or a word find to help them kind of to reach that specific audience. You have to take your time with this. You have a couple of weeks for the first draft before the first draft is due. Come to me, ask me if you have any questions about the genres. Let me keep going though. Anyway, let's see. For this paper, you will not only be arguing, but also trying to persuade your audience and attempt to them to take some sort of action. So there's a slight difference between arguing and persuasion. Arguing is just trying to get someone to agree with you or to understand what you're trying to get across there. Same thing as like convincing, trying to convince someone to agree with you. To persuade them, though, actually means to get them to take some sort of action or to change some sort of behavior. So, for example, you could argue, try to convince somebody that voting is important, and they may agree with you, but they still don't go and vote. So you haven't actually persuaded them. You've persuaded them if they say, "Oh, okay, that's a good idea. I'm going to go and actually vote now." So with this one, again, you're focusing on a specific audience, but you're also trying to get them to specifically do something. So keep that in mind as you are crafting these pieces as well. So, with a multi-genre writing project, you'll be using various types of writing, and I include examples such as poetry, dialogue, short story, etc. There's so many different types of genres you can use. There's basically nothing is not a genre. I mean, a billboard is a genre, if it has something on there that conveys a message. Uh, like I said, you'll be writing with the same topic you did for your last essay while using various genres to explain your topic and issue and persuade a different audience to do something. So, some guidelines for this project. You need to have at least 8 pieces of writing. Now, there's no rule or limit on how long each piece could be. It could be a short poem, it could be a 4-page short story. Whatever you want to write about, whatever type of genre you want to do is fine. I mean, there are some limitations, which I'll get to here in a minute, but again, there should be at least 8 different pieces. That doesn't mean 8 pages. It might be a little bit shorter than that, it might be a little bit longer than that. It just depends on what types of writing that you do. A minimum of 6 different genres needs to be used. So, for example, like if you, let's say, when you read about villanelles, it's a type of poetry. Maybe you like that one. You can put a couple of villanelles in there, and that's fine. You can double up on a type of genre a couple times in this assignment, but you need to do at least 6 different types of genres, 6 unique genres. 2 of the 8 pieces need to have an element of research to it. So this isn't a research project, but there needs to be some, evidence of logos throughout. You can even use the same sources that you use for your research paper if you feel that those are useful. Just make sure it fits logically with the rest of your assignment. Don't just like copy and paste parts of the research paper. So again, you can use some of the same sources. That's totally fine. Sometimes maybe you want to write a dialogue, and one person is telling the other person about something that she read in a journal of medicine, and then you cite that as well. That's fine. You can incorporate research that way. Also, being a persuasive piece, there needs to be obviously some bit of persuasion in this. There's a couple ways you can do this. There's actually probably more than two ways you can do this, but I'll just keep reading here. So, one thing, you can include a minimum of two pieces that are specifically persuasion pieces. So maybe a call to action or like a request for change, like maybe you're writing to somebody that are specifically persuasion pieces, or you can just kind of scatter elements of persuasion throughout. A persuasive monologue, persuasive letter, like not the entire thing doesn't have to be persuasive, but there should be evidence of persuasion. It should be clear to me and clear to the reader what you want your audience to be doing. And of course, use ethos, pathos, logos throughout. There's not like a minimum amount of times you need to use each of those, but make sure you are using those. Be clear who your audience is for this assignment. I say in the syllabus at the top of page 10 to consider a Dear Reader piece. Actually, what I want you to do is to do a multi-genre rationale that kind of explains what your project is, and I have a separate file for that. It's in the week 10 module. Let me just read through this. This is, again, you have pretty much free range for this project, but you need to definitely have the multi-genre rationale, and I've linked that to Canvas for you as well. Again, it's in the week 10 readings module. But let me read this. So for this project, I want your first genre to be your multi-genre rationale. With this, you will explain to your reader why you made the choices that you have made over the course of this project. For example, who is your intended audience for this recast? You can just come right out and tell us. Why have you chosen this audience? What genres are you utilizing, and why did you decide on those genres? Now, the recast rationale is something it'd be kind of fluid. You'll be kind of editing this as you go along. So if it's not complete for your first draft, that's not a big deal because you may not know in your first draft all the different genres you're using. So you can kind of add to it as you go. That's perfectly fine. How are you attempting to be persuasive? Which appeals and rhetorical devices are you using? Pages 55 to 58 of your student guide outlines this assignment, but it's a little bit different than what we're doing. But I still would like you to take a look at those pages 55 to 58 just to kind of see what the official student guide says that we're doing. Like I said, ours is going to be a little bit different from that, but the premise is still the same. The rationale should be 2 to 3 pages and use MLA format, and this will count as one of your 8 genres. I would like this to be the first piece that you include in your multi-genre recast. So the rationale, I think it should be a minimum of 2 pages, and it should be the first piece that you include in your project. And that does count toward one of your 8, so you only need to do 7 more after this one. But make sure you include that because that's a key part of this project. Okay, just finishing up here from the syllabus outline. There is no word count or page minimum. Like I said, you need to have 8 pieces. Now, if some of them are shorter, like if you want to do a limerick, you need to do a couple of those because limericks are short, just like a haiku. Again, it's up to you what genres you want to use. But if there's like the whole project comes out to like 2 pages because you have a bunch of really short pieces, obviously you need to add on to that. I can let you know after the first draft. Let's see. The syllabus mentions workshopping. Obviously, we're not workshopping because we're not in class, but I will definitely, my office hours will be the same, and I can talk to you and give you feedback there as well as your first draft. Sometimes it's tempting to put a cover page on the assignment. I think one of the examples that I uploaded to Canvas has a cover page on it. You do not need to do that. Just make sure you put your name, assignment, the date, all that MLA stuff that you would do on an essay on the first page on your the rationale, and then you're good after that. I do also mention that there's an element of creativity with this assignment, so you can experiment. You can use different fonts, formats, colors. As long as I can read it, I don't care. I mean, you can even be handwritten if you want to scan something into your into the computer, upload it that way. It doesn't have to look like a typical essay should look. I mean, it can, but I mean, you can do some different things with that as well. In addition to that, excuse me, there can be a digital component to this, or it can be all digital. So, like if you want to include a video that you've recorded of yourself, you can use that. The entire project can be digital if you want. One of the readings in week's 11 module is a completely digital project that a student did for me a couple years ago. I looked through that. If you want to do that, you can do that. You can create a website as well. If you make your project a video, if you make it a website, I will count that as one of your genres. So if the whole thing is a website or the whole thing is a video, I will count that as a genre in and of itself. So you would only need to have 7 genres in addition to that. And then once the recast rationale is done, only 6 genres. Again, you're not required to do that, but if you want to, I want you to know that as an option. And like I said, I provided on Canvas examples of a website version of the multi-genre as well as a video of that. Let's see what else. A works cited page is necessary. So again, you said you have to use at least 2 sources in this project. They can be the same sources that you use in the research if you want, or you can go find new ones, whatever works for you. But make sure you have a works cited page at the end, even if it's just 2 sources. No, this does not count as one of your genres, so make sure you still include that at the end, but that doesn't count as one of the minimum of 8. Off the top of my head, that's the main stuff I can think about right now. If you have any if I think of anything new, I'll post it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Don't forget my office time, Monday and Wednesdays from 1 to 2 on WebEx. Mondays and Wednesdays, 1 to 2. If that doesn't work for you, please let me know. I can try to set up another time and to accommodate you that way. But yeah, I think that's all I have for now. Again, look through the assignment description in your syllabus. If that in this video doesn't answer your questions, just please shoot me an email. Let me know. If I've left something out, I will note that as well. All right. Hope all is going well. I will talk to you later.